Return of the Mac. Return of the Mac. Return of the Mac. Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome back to the Thunderstruck podcast with Tori. I am your host, Tori Ancona, and this is episode 12 of me talking about all things Los Angeles Chargers related. And this is going to be a nice little double header episode where I talk about the recap of the Chargers versus the Miami Dolphins and the preview of this week's matchup, Chargers versus the Indianapolis Colts at SoFi. And I'm actually going to go to the game with my dad this Sunday. Gonna wear this exact outfit, probably gonna throw my Chargers jacket on top of it. If you're going to the game, make sure you wear all yellow to make sure that we look like we have fans. So yeah. Anyway, I'm gonna talk about, first things first, the heroics from last game by this man right here, Justin Herbert. Justin Herbert is proving once again that he is one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the NFL. In fact, I saw a stat that he is the second quarterback right behind Patrick Mahomes to have the most game-winning drives from any other quarterback in the last 5 years. So basically his whole career, he's had 19 game-winning drives, I believe. Correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, and more to come, and I'm really looking forward to that. A lot of people are mentioning that both of his starting tackles is out, but what people are forgetting to mention is that both of the backup tackles were also out versus the Miami Dolphins. And there was moments where Justin Herbert had to throw the ball away or he was being pressured, but I feel like a big positive turnout from the game at Miami really showed that we have a different type of protection plan when you have those tackles out, when you have Joe Alt out, when you have Jamari Salyer out, when you have Trey Pipkins out, when you only start Bobby Hart and Austin Deculus. You want to have tight end chips, running back chips to help them protect Justin Herbert, to make the load less overwhelming for Justin Herbert and the offense. And they pretty much executed that. Thankfully, they were playing a really bad Dolphins defense, to be fair, but at the same time, it's really nice that you can put Tucker Fisk in there. You can put Will Dissly, Hassan Haskins, Kamani Vidal, which, speaking of Kamani Vidal, massive shout out to him. He had over 120 yards on the ground, basically his first career start. And it's making me really, really excited that he's going to be highly involved for weeks to come. I'm hoping that he stays healthy, knock on wood on that, and I hope that he still gets some playing time and gets some touches when Amarian Hampton is back on his feet from that ankle injury. But yeah, shout out Kamani Vidal. Also shout out Nyheim Hines, elevated off of the practice squad, that he hasn't played a game in quite some time, I believe over 3 years, and he had a crucial kickoff return that was returned to the 40-yard line to set up Justin Herbert in the offense to execute that final drive, which unfortunately we were yet again in that situation because of the defense giving up way too much yards on the ground, way too many plays where people were wide open. And I will say, going into the Colts game, that is something that needs to be addressed at all. Devon Achane is one of the best running backs in the league, and he is extremely fast, and he broke one for basically a 50-yard touchdown last game. Yeah, we are playing probably a top 3 running back right now in Jonathan Taylor, and probably the best O-line in all of football. So yeah, that's a little bit scary, but at the same time, no need to fear, because Khalil Mack is here. Well, he is questionable. It is very, very likely in my book that he will play, and that will be very clutch. Same thing with Troy Dye going through a thumb injury. Very interesting there. I believe he's questionable as well. Darius Davis is also questionable of I believe it was an ankle or a hamstring. I don't know. And but that would be really nice. I would like to see him on the punt returns, and I want to see Nyheim Hines on the kick returns. I really think that would benefit the special teams unit. And Denzel Perryman is also questionable. Now, I got a little off track. I kind of kicked things off to talk about the Colts preview, but I want to say some things about the Dolphin recap. Trey Harris stepping up for his first career game where he was heavily targeted. It was really exciting to watch him converting a lot of plays into first downs, especially when Quentin Johnson unexpectedly downgraded to out against the Dolphins, and he is expected to come back this week, which is really good. But at the same time, I really like Trey Harris as a run blocking option, especially opening things up for the featured running backs. And also, he is starting to be a little bit more trustworthy with this guy, Justin Herbert, when it comes to the second and shorts, the third and shorts, quick little slant route. And again, it would be really effective to throw him in there, especially when he's still under the radar, because you have Ladd McConkey. You have Oronde Gadsden, who put up a career day. Even though he had a fumble, he made up for it at the end. He had the most yards in his career in a game so far, which was really great to see. And then you have Keenan Allen, and then you have running backs, and you have other weapons that Herbert can utilize. But at the same time, it's really nice to throw in some rookies in the mix at wide receiver, because you don't really know what you're getting out of them. They could be a run block option, or psych, we're gonna do a play action fake and Herbert is just gonna lace one 20 yards, first down, keep the chains moving. So it's really nice to see that from Trey Harris. I want to see that from KLS, Keandre Lambert-Smith. Maybe that finally gets executed this week. I really want Keandre Lambert-Smith to have a little bit more opportunities, but at the same time, if Trey Harris works, I think he's the guy moving forward when it comes to out of the two rookie the rookie wide receivers, I did mention last episode that it is really important. If you want to win football games, you need to force turnovers. And did the Chargers do that? Absolutely. They forced 3 interceptions against Tua, turn the ball over. But yeah, that came up to be really, really, really important for the Chargers' success for the rest of the remaining parts of the game. You had Tony Jefferson on Tua's first pass intercept a ball. Really good play by, I believe, Tarheeb Still to make it hard for Jalen Waddle to catch the ball, causing him to bobble the football, and Tony Jefferson, the getting in the mix to get the interception. And my favorite interception that happened out of the 3, I love the Derwin James one at the end of the game, I must say, but at the same time, I'm really, really excited about Benjamin St-Juste, a very underwhelming signing that happened over the summer that I wasn't really expecting that it was going to be a really good beneficial move for this secondary. But at the same time, Jesse Minter is a mastermind getting some corner prospects and making them look like the Legion of Boom. I mean, Benjamin St-Juste is truly surprising me in all the ways possible. I think he's one of the highest grade corners via PFF. And yeah, he got his second career interception, and it was a beautiful, beautiful undercut when he was guarding Devon Achane. I don't really like that Tua decided to test a running back against a 6'3" cornerback, but hey, we'll take what we can get. And Odafe Owe getting his first career Charger sack in his Charger debut. That was really, really cool to see. He is a lot more flexible than I thought. I mean, there was one play that the Dolphins got a first down, but he got up there and deflected the ball. If he can do that consistently week in and week out, I think him and Thule will be an extraordinary duo alongside with the returning Khalil Mack, which will bring us into the Chargers versus Colts preview. And what do I expect and what do I think about the injuries? Well, Joe Alt returned to practice. He didn't practice on Wednesday, but he practiced yesterday on Thursday, and then he practiced today. But it was a limited participant. My guess is that he is going to sit this game out and play the Thursday night football game that was right after this game against the Minnesota Vikings, which honestly, I don't mind it at all. I think making it precautionary and making him not rush the injury will be beneficial. However, he's labeled as doubtful, which, gives me the indication that he's not going to play, but you never know what's coming. He might be upgraded to questionable, and then all of a sudden, boom, he can play. But that, again, I honestly just love to see that he's getting back. He's getting his feet wet again. He has this huge taping job on that sprained ankle. So I think it's better yet to just give it one more week, maybe one more game, having to deal with Austin Deculus at left tackle. But if they continue to do the protection that they did last game, pretty manageable. There was times where Justin Herbert miraculously got out of the pocket, and even though he should have been sacked, but at the same time, I think things will open up now that Jamari Salyer will be starting at right tackle if he fills in, which he's questionable to return to this game, but at the same time, I'm really hopeful that he gets to play this game, especially with Bobby Hart's performance last week, which wasn't really good, but you got to think about that he hasn't played a snap in 4 years. So, you know what can you ask for? And plus, signing offensive tackles right now, they're free agents for a reason. They don't grow on trees. You're not going to get somebody who has above 70, maybe even above 60 when it comes to their run and pass blocking grades. So honestly, if they just keep helping out Herbert by putting Scott Matlock or Tucker Fisk or Will Dissly, maybe even a Rondé Gadsden, or maybe even throw in Hassan Haskins for those pass protection reps, because that was the best play that I've seen from Hassan Haskins, period, when he chipped Bradley Chubb and then he hustled down the field to make that block for Ladd McConkey that got that clutch 42-yard play to set Cameron Dicker up, who's just the best kicker in the world at this point. And I think Hassan Haskins being a pass blocker could be really beneficial as well. Now, when it comes to injuries, Joe Alt is doubtful. I believe Elijah Molden is also doubtful as well. Bradley Bozeman had an illness, but he looks to be, yet again, the center for the starting unit, even though I was a little bit more hopeful that Andre James was going to make the start, but I think it was because due to Bradley Bozeman not being on the field due to illness, I think that's what made the change happen, where Andre James did step in for Bradley Bozeman. Now, do I want Bradley Bozeman at center? I really don't. And, it's nothing against him personally, but we got to call it as it is. He was graded a 24% pass blocking rate. That is god awful. Really bad. Like, really, really, really bad. And if we want to be competitive with these teams that are 5-1, or if we want to be competitive with the Kansas City Chiefs, the Buffalo Bills, Philadelphia Eagles, etc., 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 we need to make a change at center. And if we're not going to trade for someone, which I highly recommend that we do, but probably not, we gotta try Andre James. He's had experience at the position. He was graded pretty dang well the last full season that he started, which was, I believe, in 2023. So pretty somewhat recently, more recently than Bobby Hart being 2021 or 2022, I don't remember, but way more recently than Bobby Hart. And moving forward, I really don't know why they keep starting Bozeman. I think there's some bias there with Greg Roman having him on the team at Baltimore, so maybe that brings them a connection, but at the same time, you got to make a change to keep this man on his feet. Because although it was really nice to see him be like Hercules last game, where he's pushing guys out the way, pushing 200 way rushers out of the way to avoid a sack, he can't be doing that every play. And surely with this Colts D-line, they're way more talented and way more productive than the Miami Dolphins. So yeah, I think we're heavily going to rely on the run game, but also what I really want the Chargers to do this week is do what they did last week against Miami and do the quick pass method. Do the quick slants to McConkey, the quick passes to Rondé Gadsden, because those are some explosive young players that can take 3 to 4 yards and make it a 6-yard gain or a 7-yard gain, or even better, a 42-yard gain, as Ladd McConkey did, like I said earlier on the episode. At the end of the game, he made a play that he caught the ball 4 yards away from Justin Herbert, took him one little juke move, and then boom, he's off to the races. You have explosive players that can do that, including Kamani Vidal, which got a reception touchdown last game. And I really think not only in the running game that Kamani Vidal can be really beneficial with, but I think he can be really effective in the passing game as well. I really want to see Justin Herbert throw multiple touchdowns this game. How does that happen? We need to execute the red zone. Now, I'm always a fan of Cameron Dicker. Cameron Dicker is probably the best, no, as a matter of fact, he is the best kicker I've ever seen wear the powder blue and yellow. Simple as that. I mean, he's already on pace to be a Chargers Hall of Famer, whether you like it or not. I love him, right? but we need to score touchdowns when we're in the red zone, period. You have to, especially if you want to beat these top AFC teams, you need to capitalize in the red zone. How can you do that? Well, you have Oronde Gadsden, who could be a potential red zone threat. There's been some opportunities where Justin Herbert either threw it too low or threw it too high for him to reach it, but I think we should draw a scheme for him to be way more effective and way more targeted in the red zone, because he's a 5 target. Justin Herbert is 6'6". That's a match made in heaven. And Oronde Gadsden kind of is giving a shorter version of Donald Parham, who was 6'8", and he was really effective in the red zone. So why can't you try that with Gadsden? I think that would be really, really beneficial. Ladd McConkey has been the red zone target too. That's been nice. But also, if you want to execute the run, you gotta put some extra bodies in there. I really don't like going in shotgun and just giving it to your running back from there. How about you get under center and then you run the football? Even if that means Justin Herbert has to sneak in for 2 yards if we're on the 2-yard line, why not? Give it a shot. I rather you run it, and then if that doesn't work, what can you do about that? But I cannot stand the holding penalties, getting drawn back, us losing yardage, us looking for plays to develop when we're by the red zone when it's just 2 yards to go. I understand you have Quentin Johnston. I understand you have Keenan Allen. You have all those targets. But if it's not going to be a quick pass, you need to run the football when you're in the red zone, especially inside the 5. So I think they really need to execute that if they ever get there inside the 5 against the Indianapolis Colts. Now, what's so interesting is that the Chargers are favorites in this game, and you might be wondering why. Well, the Colts haven't really beaten anybody that's really impressive. They did beat the Denver Broncos, but that was a game that they should have lost. Remember, they had a very, very unusual penalty called against the Broncos. That sets them up for a game-winning field goal that they originally missed, and then they made it. What the flip? They also beat the Dolphins, the Titans, they beat the Cardinals, and I believe they played another team that was just not really competitive. The only team that really gave them a run for their money was the Los Angeles Rams, and that they were going back and forth, but the Rams came up with the last-minute victory. So it's not far-fetched to say that the Chargers can win, especially getting some key pieces back as Denzel Perryman, Khalil Mack, Jamari Salyer. Those immediately make the roster shape up a little bit more better. Even if Joe Alt is not back around this time, I think it will still benefit the Chargers immensely. I'm not going to have a score prediction because I didn't have a score prediction last game, and look what happened. We got the dub. And I know a lot of people are like, congrats, you beat the Dolphins. Congrats, you beat the Dolphins. Who cares? Listen up. I have never seen a starting quarterback with 4 offensive tackles out. Name me a time in this recent memory. I have never seen anything like it. And their starting running back is out. And their other starting running back is out. And their starting receiver didn't play. So I don't want to hear some horse mess, as Philip Rivers would say. If it matters, it does matter, because Justin Herbert proved once again that he's one of the most clutch quarterbacks in the NFL, whether you like it or not. And it doesn't matter if it was against the Dolphins, because it still ended up with the dub. And I'm hoping that the Chargers come with the win as usual, but at the same time, especially this week, because thanks to the Pittsburgh Steelers losing to Joe Flacco, who is still slinging it. He's been slinging it since I was like 3 years old. He's been in the league since 2008. Think about that, guys. You can age good. Take care of yourself. But anyway, the Steelers losing to the Bengals really is really good for the Chargers. And the reason why is that if the Chargers beat the Colts this week, we're not the 3rd seed. We're not the 2nd seed. We are the number 1 seed in the AFC if that happens. So it will be a huge win, especially if we come out and we escape a game with a win, and then you have Joe Alt coming back against the Vikings. I don't know, man. That's a really, really good, positive outlook in my book, but we'll see what happens. I will see you in the next episode where I will recap the Chargers versus the Colts. And always remember, bolts up, and I'll see you in the next one. Have a good day. Peace.